Daron Bland just signed a huge contract extension with the Cowboys, but he's not going to be the only one. We'll tell you who else is going to be up for a deal next.
You are Locked On Cowboys, your daily Dallas Cowboys podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Cowboys podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We'd like to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Welcome back. I am your host, Marcus Mosher. He is Landon McCool. And on today's show, we are getting you ready for the Cowboys Week 1 game. We're going to talk about some injury reports, but I want to start with this news out of Dallas. Daron Bland got a massive contract extension over the weekend. There was some rumblings for several weeks now that he could be next. Landon, were you surprised that this got done ahead of Week 1?
No, actually, and I kind of, it got lost in all the Micah Parsons stuff, but he was a guy that there were whispers about at camp that, he was working on a deal, that we know that these two sides have been talking. I kind of feel like this deal was close to getting done even before the Parsons situation. All the extra money that they probably got freed up really kind of just helped finalize everything. So I wasn't surprised at all. I knew that there was obviously mutual interest and they were working on it. So to hear it finally got announced is not shocking, especially now that they have a lot of extra money kind of earmarked for being able to spend.
Yeah, they didn't trade away Micah Parsons because they wanted to pay Daron Bland. Like, that's just such a dumb narrative. They've been wanting to get this one done. They wanted to get Micah Parsons done as well. But I do think one of the reasons why, and we'll get to this in a little bit, that trading Micah made some sense financially, not generally, but financially, is because you've got a lot of big extensions coming up, and Daron Bland is one of them. But I want to start with this part of it, Landon. I'm begging listeners of the Locked On Cowboys podcast to please do not overreact to agent numbers that come out when these deals first get announced. This happens every single time. They see the number, they're sticker shock, and then everybody panics and gets their jokes off about the Cowboys front office being bad or whatever it is. But as usual, the numbers aren't as bad as what they initially seemed.
Yeah, this is a very reasonable deal for who Daron Bland is. I mean, again, is he, there aren't lockdown corners are barely a thing anymore in NFL. And I think, you're looking for a guy who fits the system that you're trying to play. And a guy that is, despite being a very volatile position, is someone who can show you a little bit of consistency. And I think that's what you've got out of Daron Bland. I mean, you've certainly seen the high highs and obviously being the all-time record holder for pick sixes in a single season. But I think the low lows have been pretty reasonable. It's not like he's in a severely up and down player. I think he's mostly a very steady player who will give you some big plays every once in a while. And I think, on top of that, there's lots of talk about, and again, like people viewing this kind of wrong, there's been lots of talk about, is he an inside corner? Is he an outside corner? I mean, clearly he's both, and that's not a bad thing. That's a positive thing. You want a guy who's versatile. So again, a versatile guy who can play inside, can play outside, has shown an ability, even immediately coming in from college, to play man coverage, but honestly is better in zone coverage and some off stuff. And willing tackler. I think he's a guy the kind of guy you want to re-sign, and I think that was clearly the plan even before the things kind of turned sour with Micah Parsons.
And I think there's this misconception because it was a primetime game against the Seahawks where DK Metcalf beat him a couple times down the field, and Bland gave up a lot of yardage. Now, Bland did get an interception in that game. That he is this gambling cornerback, and that's all he does, kind of like Asante Samuel-ish in his prime. That's not the case for Bland. Like, yes, he will gamble, but he tackles. He'll play in the slot. He's physical. And we should remember there were a lot of games in 2023 where the Cowboys were up. He just didn't want to give up big plays. That's why the yards per reception numbers are a little higher. But this is a guy that's been like a bona fide playmaker from the time he got into the NFL. He made plays as a backup during his rookie year. He got banged up last year, and the play dropped a little bit, but I actually thought he played pretty well when he came back.
He did, and again, I think this is a guy whose game is going to age well. He's a smart, heady player who plays with good eyes. He understands how to kind of peel off his assignment to make a play. Schottenheimer mentioned a play early in his rookie career where he peeled off of a cover 2 coverage to come back and make a hit and steal the ball away from a tight end for his first interception. I think it was in the preseason. So yeah, I mean, again, he that's the kind of thing he does. It's not just luck, clearly, with this guy. Like he clearly knows where he's supposed to be and where the ball's supposed to be, and he arrives there sometimes ahead of the wide receiver. So yeah, that's the kind of thing you're paying money for. That's the kind of thing that ages well. And again, let's keep in mind the cornerback is a position where there's a lot of volatility. And I'm not talking, I remember there was a guy named Janoris Jenkins who was the Jackrabbit, right? Who used to be extremely up and down. I think that that we get with Bland is a lot of those highs, but the lows are still kind of middling, and so when we see middling play, everyone's like freaks out. But I think as far as a position that doesn't have a lot of consistency, he's shown us a lot of consistency, which I think should be rewarded.
I want to dive into the numbers real quick. I promise this will not get too nerdy, but we see the numbers that come out. 5 years, was it 94 million was the initial number. And of course, that's what everybody talks about. That's why everybody's saying he's the 6th highest paid corner in the NFL. If you look at it by average per year, that is correct. He is the 6th highest paid corner in the NFL. But let's dive into it a little further. If you go by the highest total value, 8th highest paid corner in the league. Again, that doesn't matter because there's a lot of years attached. He's got the 12th most guaranteed money among all cornerbacks right now, 12th most fully guaranteed money. And the way that this contract breaks down, Landon, is basically $5.8 million this year, a slight raise from what he was due to get. Next year, $17.4 million. 2027, $17.4 million. And you could cut him after that season and have, I believe, like only $8 million dead cap. So essentially, this is a 2-year, $43 million deal, which comes out to basically, I think it's like $21.5 million per year, which again puts him right in like the 9th to 10th highest paid corner in the league. And if you want to keep him and he's playing really well, you can actually get a really good value of that next year as well. So think of it as a 2-year extension rather than a big 5-year deal, which was being sold to all of us on social media.
Yeah, and even if he plays all 5 years, I mean, you're still talking about an extension, a 4-year extension. So it incorporates this year, which, by the way, I need a mea culpa a little bit. I had forgotten to account for all the escalators that Bland got this year. So his salary was actually a lot higher already than I had anticipated. It was already at $5 million because he made an All-Pro and all the escalators that these guys get in their rookie contract. So he was already making a pretty penny. He only got a slight raise, I mean, as far as this season goes, and obviously the guaranteed money that he signed in the deal. So yeah, I mean, and if you want to keep him for the length of the contract, I think it ends up, measuring out to somewhere around 17 or 18 million dollars a year. So
yeah, and again, if you get to that point, it's going to be a massive value. By the time we get to the 28, 29 season, you look at the salary cap, it's going to be ridiculous. We should also mention there's a bunch of like things that are fully guaranteed or incentives in that contract. Like I think one of them is like if he gets 7 or more interceptions, he gets like a $2 million bonus. Like some of that stuff is going to be really, really hard to get. All in all, I think this is a very, very fair contract. And I'm glad the Cowboys got it done because now we don't have to worry about Daron Bland leaving in free agency next year.
Yeah, that's some of the best things about Daron Bland getting some of these not likely to be earned incentives is that, well, we've actually seen him earn these unearnable incentives before. And if he does, hey, I'm more than willing to pay him the extra $2 million if he gets 8 interceptions this year.
So Daron Bland will not be the last Cowboy to sign an extension this year. I feel very confident about that. But who is next? We'll tell you. This episode is brought to you by Yahoo Fantasy. The NFL season is right around the corner, and you can already feel the buzz. Fantasy football season is here. Everyone's researching, drafting, and building their championship squads. And if you haven't joined a league yet, now is the time, and it's all happening on Yahoo Fantasy. This year, I'm playing fantasy football on Yahoo Fantasy, and you should too, whether you're a first-timer or a veteran creating your millionth league. And with season kickoff on September 4th, now is the time to start competing on Yahoo Fantasy, which offers so many fun ways to compete. And if you want more ways to play, try the brand new Yahoo Fantasy Guillotine League mode, where the lowest scoring team gets eliminated each week until there's only one team left standing. And if you want to play instantly with friends, try the new Draft with Friends mode. And if you prefer the classics, get your league together and go head-to-head in a private league. No crew, no problem. Just join a public league. It's the easiest way to play. The NFL season kicks off on September 4th, so don't wait. Start your league now. Draft now at yahoofantasy.com/LockedOnNFL. That is yahoofantasy.com/LockedOnNFL. Welcome back to the Locked On Cowboys podcast. We'd like to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. We have an important request. Locked On wants to hear from you. We've put together a survey to learn more about our listeners and make your favorite podcast even better. This is your chance to tell us what you like, what you don't like, and answer some questions about our advertising. So go to lockedonpodcast.com/survey to get started. And everyone who completes a survey will be entered for a chance to win one of 10 $100 Amazon gift cards. Again, that is lockedonpodcast.com/survey. And you can also find the link in the show notes. All right, Lena, let's talk about who's next, because the Cowboys, I think, are going to be pretty active when it comes to signing contract extensions. I know I can already hear the people saying, well, they weren't with Micah Parsons. I get it. Let's ignore that part for a second. What do you think is on the docket next for the Cowboys?
Well, you and I were talking before the show. It doesn't seem, it seems more than coincidental that they're trying to hit some of these 2022 players, right? And that includes George Pickens, right? We saw Ferguson get signed. We saw obviously Bland just get his deal.
Tyler Smith is coming up for sure.
Tyler Smith is likely to be another one of these, and I think George Pickens is a guy that likely to get an extension at some point. We'll see, how soon that comes. And we talked about the fact that they kind of wanted to see him play a little bit, and that Pickens side also kind of wanted that a little on their side as well, just an opportunity to prove it, maybe earn a little bit even more money than they would have made just signing a deal at the beginning of the season. So I do think that those are kind of the two guys, though, that I still see them, potentially locking up. I think at this point now, the Cowboys, at one or two good games of George Pickens will probably be enough for them to feel like, okay, we've already made a commitment here, that he's already fit into our culture really well. We kind of want to go ahead and get this deal done. We'll see if the Pickens sides want to deal with that as well. I mean, because again, we know who Pickens' agent is. It's an old familiar face. Maybe you've heard of him, David Mugoletta. So we'll see how that all kind of susses itself out this year.
Yeah, so I think one of the reasons, and again, I'm prefacing all of this with I wouldn't have traded away Micah Parsons, but one of the things I think they're looking at is without Micah, you have this window of cap space. They've got, I think, the second most cap space in the league. Next year's a little different because you've got some big salaries on the books, like someone like Kenny Clark. Like I can't imagine Kenny Clark not either being released or signing a new deal. Like I don't think he's going to make $30 million next year for Dallas, right? But I think you're going to start seeing the Cowboys trying to lock up some of these players like Tyler Smith, like George Pickens. And another name that we've heard is Sam Williams. Mm-hmm. That one is a little bit different for me, but I think they want to try to get some of these deals done early and then fill in the holes and the needs with draft picks over the next 2 years. And it was going to be really hard to give Micah his contract at $47 million a year, which is what he got, and get all of these other deals done. And I think one of the things the Cowboys were trying to figure out is, okay, if we sign Micah, are we losing Daron Bland? Are we losing Tyler Smith? Are we losing George Pickens? And is our roster better that way? I honestly, I don't know. Probably not but it seems like that is the plan, is to try to lock up as many of these guys as possible.
Yeah, that's the theory, right? And we'll see how it all plays out. And they're obviously going to use that money here and there kind of strategically to sort of spread out the talent a little bit more. Can I make the case real quick for the Sam Williams deal, if I could?
Sure, go ahead.
For me, I think you look at the Sam Williams deal as a potential to get in early on a guy that you think that could be on the up, right? Like obviously he missed a year because of the ACL injury. They really liked what he had done up until that point before the ACL injury. He had a good camp. I feel like, and I think that if he's a guy that once he's going to get it with his kind of rare combination of athleticism, explosion, and frankly, production you've seen in a place like the SEC, it just feels like he needs to find consistency. You're on a final year with him. You're in a situation where he's going to probably at the end of this year, if you don't sign him to a new deal, you could potentially get in on a ground floor of a situation where maybe he's about to explode for 8 to 10 sacks if he has a good season.
Yeah, here's my guess. I'm betting Sam Williams' agency is pushing for a contract extension now, because let's think about his career, right? Like, he was somebody who I think some teams had question marks coming out of Ole Miss about, right? Like some off-field stuff. He goes in the second round, doesn't do a ton during the first 2 years of his career. Year 3, he has an injury, and he's probably looking at it like, if I have a good year and I break out, okay, yeah, maybe I make $10 million, $12 million on the open market. But if I twist my ankle and I miss 4 games, or I don't have the sack production, maybe you're looking at a $4 or $5 million player in free agency, like on a 1-year deal. I mean, honestly, we see a lot of these guys who former high picks, and like Solomon Thomas, right? Solomon Thomas is struggling to get more than the veteran minimum right now. I wouldn't be surprised if this is Sam Williams' agency saying, hey, we can get you $8 million a year on a 2-year deal. Yeah, that's not the most money. Almost the way that the Cowboys did it with Dorrance Armstrong. Remember, Armstrong signed a small deal kind of early on in his career, and then he was able to parlay that into more money down the road.
I think it's just one of those positions where it takes a little while for some of these guys to develop. And this is one of the positions where it sometimes falls outside of that rookie deal. I mean, the NFL has the players in a bad situation overall just because of these rookie deals and how long they are. But some of these positions, like defensive tackle and defensive line, can take actually longer than the rookie deals that they play on. So maybe a short extension, like you're talking about, a 2-year deal that kind of gives the Cowboys another look-see at the prime of his career, and still gives Sam an opportunity to kind of take another big bite at the apple when he hits free agency at 28. I think is a good deal.
We should mention one other player that's likely to get an extension, at least we think so, is Brandon Aubrey. Now, Brandon Aubrey's not going to break the bank. Like, you're not going to be paying him a ton of money, but it's just another deal that needs to get done. I think they're waiting on another deal in Pittsburgh with Chris Boswell before they get it done, but I got to imagine that's just another. Again, I honestly, I don't know the kicker market. Probably $7 million, $6 million per year. They're just waiting to sign off on.
Yeah, I mean, again, another guy that you feel like has earned it, was probably a borderline player at some point. I mean, I think the Cowboys probably would have desperately tried to re-sign him, but it may have been too pricey at certain points just by the way he's played. I think now that the Micah situation is what it is, he definitely falls solidly on the side of guys that are going to get signed by the Cowboys.
All right, Landon, we got some juicy practice updates from the Cowboys, including a couple players who should be ready for week 1. We will get to that next. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is almost here, and FanDuel is making sure that you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love using FanDuel because it fits however you like to bet. Like, I love the futures market. Like, I like to go bet on who I think is going to win the division, who's going to be the MVP, who's going to win the Defensive Player of the Year award. I'm not voting for that guy or betting for that guy in Green Bay. He's dead to me now. It makes every game even more exciting, whether you're watching your team or just keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That is FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. This episode is brought to you by Upside. Hey, Locked On Cowboy fans, are you still paying full price for gas? Stop leaving money behind. Get real cash back every time you fill up with the free Upside app. Simply download the free Upside app in the App Store or Google Play right now and start earning cash at the pump today. Use our limited promo code TOUCHDOWN and get an extra 25 cents back per gallon on your first fill up. You can make up to $300 a year just from buying the gas that you already needed. At first, I thought this was too good to be true, but it's absolutely, totally legit. Real people are getting paid just to make their daily commutes, and you can too. Plus, you can cash out anytime to your bank account, PayPal, or an e-gift card for Amazon and other brands. Don't let this offer drive on by. Download the free Upside app now by using our limited time promo code Touchdown for a limited time 25-cent per gallon bonus. That is promo code Touchdown. Offers vary by user and location. Go to upside.com for terms and conditions. Welcome back to the Locked On Cowboys podcast. We'd like to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. For your second listen, we want you guys to check out the Locked On NFL season previews on Locked On NFL. Every division winner, breakout stars, and Super Bowl contenders. An 8-episode series with everything you need to know about the NFL season. Find Locked On NFL on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. All right, Landon. Injury updates. Let's start with Trevon Diggs, who's been practicing for the last week and a half. Again, when we first heard about the injury, we thought he could be missing months of the season. And then it was, okay, maybe he won't go on PUP. Maybe he'll actually be back by week 4. Trevon Diggs said on Sunday, hey, no later than week 4. And then on Monday, Trevon Diggs says he's 75 to 80% sure that he'll be ready for week 1. Do you think he plays?
I do. I think he plays just based on his confidence, based on everything I've seen through training camp that really didn't even make me feel like week 1 was ever really in doubt. I just didn't want to, just jump out in front of someone's recovery. But honestly, the whole time I was out at training camp, he looked like he was in great shape and was on bands and moving around quite well for a guy that still, was being purported to be a month away. And lo and behold, it doesn't look like he's a month away. Can we just take a second and celebrate silently with ourselves? Maybe if you're driving around your car, that we just got an honest to God injury report for week 1 of real football, and that football is back, baby. I just was really thrilled about that. So anyways, obviously it's even better to get positive news like this, but to hear the situation like we have with Trevon, where it's been trending this way for quite a while, where it feels like the news has been, well, he might make it back. He might make it back. And then suddenly it's like, yeah, I'm probably back. It's happening. So it's not so shocking. On a day-to-day thing, but if I had gone back 6 months ago and told you that Trevon Diggs was going to be available for week 1, I think you would have picked your jaw off the floor.
It's incredible. Now we'll see how much he plays, if he plays at all. I wouldn't be surprised if he's on a pitch count a little bit, just so they're not. There's a chance Cowboys have to play 60 plays on defense, and that's probably just too much for Diggs, considering he hasn't practiced a ton. But again, the fact that he's even out there, and the fact that you look at this roster right now, Andrew Booth isn't on the 53-man roster. He's not somebody they're relying on. He's not even on the practice squad. To me, all of their moves suggest they think Diggs is going to be ready very, very soon, probably going to be out there in week 1.
Yeah, it's almost like they kind of want to tell us, man, it's going to be close. It's going to be close. But all their actions are like, oh, he's totally fine. He's ready to go. He's ready to go. He's playing.
Well, I look at the other corners on the roster and they tell me that he's probably playing in week 1.
Exactly. Again, this is another example, guys, just to kind of step back and point it out, where there are times, during the season, especially early, where the teams can't lie to you anymore, right? You have to see what their actions are. Pay attention to the actions. The fact that they're going short on cornerbacks means that they feel like the guys that they have on this roster are probably healthy enough to play.
The other one that was really interesting was Tyler Guyton, who was a full participant at practice on Monday. Again, when the injury happened, we thought it was a season-ending injury. And then it came to, well, he probably will miss week 1. But now he's practiced last week and on Monday. Again, he's not fully sure that he's going to play. He says he's trending that way. Again, actually, I should mention our guy, Stretch Smith, Coach Smith. He said that he wouldn't be surprised if the Cowboys rotate Tyler Guyton and Nate Thomas to kind of work up Guyton's conditioning. But again, the fact that he's even practicing is great news.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, another guy who it feels like we've heard a very tempered expectation timeline from the Cowboys, but their actions sure don't imply that. Their actions seem to imply that he's going to come back and be a part of this team early in the season. And obviously week 1 potentially is in play here. So yeah, again, what you feel good about is that you saw a really solid training camp and preseason from Nate Thomas. And you feel like if he has to go out there and play a game against the world champions, you're not going to get embarrassed necessarily. And again, as we have said over and over and over again, Tyler Guyton, Nate Thomas, Marcus Mosher, it doesn't matter who's playing left tackle. They're going to give this guy a lot of help, especially if it's this jabroni.
Yeah, exactly. Last one, we saw Savon Ravel, the Cowboys' 3rd-round pick, working on the cords with Kalen Carson, with Josh Butler, a lot of corners. We also saw DeMarvion Overshown working on the cords.
Yes.
Before we go, who gets on the field quicker, Overshown or Ravel?
I'm going to say Overshown. At this point, it's like a sprint, it feels like. And he's, he's really picked it up. Every time we see him, it feels like he's further ahead of the curve. So I'm not betting against him at this point.
It feels like the Cowboys are going to be treating this as a red shirt year for Ravel. Like, go get healthy, learn the scheme. We'll consider you next year when we have maybe even more turnover at the cornerback position with Diggs' status, Kyer Elam in a contract year. So we'll see. All right, that is it for today's show. We want to thank you for making Locked On Cowboys your first listen every single day. We've got a squad show coming up on Tuesday evening. Make sure you guys tune in for that. Follow Landon on Twitter at McCoolBCB. I'm at Marcus_Mosher, and we will see you right back here tomorrow.